When a hyper-offensive striker joins a club renowned for its defensive discipline, it triggers a hidden structural problem. The first actor in this system is Julián Álvarez. Like any rational agent, his incentive is to maximize his individual utility, meaning he wants minutes on the pitch, a starring role in the attack, tactical rigidity, and relentless defensive sacrifice from every player on the grass. Hovering above them is a third, invisible actor, the club's board and the fan base, whose incentive is securing a return on a massive financial investment. This creates a classic game theory scenario. The challenge is aligning competing individual desires within a methodical system. If they cannot synchronize, they fail together. The strategic trade-offs here are severely asymmetrical. If Álvarez drops deep to fulfill the heavy defensive demands, he burns out physically and neutralizes his ability to score. But if Simeone grants his new star total positional freedom, the team's defensive structure fractures, exposing the entire squad. Neither actor can force their preferred outcome without destroying the other's utility. Without finding a mathematical middle ground, the transfer risks collapsing into a scenario where neither agent's incentives are met. To map out these interdependent strategies, we use a decision matrix. On the vertical axis, Simeone's strategies of a traditional rigid scheme versus a functional adapted scheme. On the horizontal axis, Álvarez's choices: demand absolute protagonism or accept tactical adaptation. Because these decisions are inextricably linked, the final outcome entirely depends on where their choices intersect on this grid. If Simeone stays rigid and Álvarez demands protagonism, we hit the worst-case scenario: total conflict. If Simeone stays rigid and Álvarez adapts, there is order, but the player exhausts himself far from the goal. The investment is wasted on a suboptimal return. This brings us to a core principle of game theory: the Nash equilibrium. As this text outlines, it is a state where players reach a balance, and neither has an interest in changing their strategy unilaterally. In our matrix, the soccer equivalent of this equilibrium lives in the winning quadrant: functional scheme paired with tactical adaptation, yielding high payoffs. This means the coach adjusts the build-up play, while the player applies localized pressure without exhausting himself. In this specific equilibrium, neither the coach nor the player has any logical reason to abandon their strategy. By locking into this state, they establish a foundation for mutual success. For this equilibrium to survive a long season, it requires what economists call a credible commitment from both sides. Every action on the grass, adjusting pieces peacefully, pressing smartly, and scoring goals, acts as a signal. These signals prove to the board and the fans that the tactical pact is actually working. We can visualize this peak state on a graph showing the Pareto frontier, illustrating Pareto efficiency. Reaching this exact point of tactical harmony means you cannot improve the player's situation further without actively worsening the coach's system, and vice versa. Success in this context requires mastering internal cooperation before the first whistle even blows. In the framework of game theory, yielding a small amount of ground isn't a loss. It's the most reliable way to stabilize a system built for mutual benefit.